Hey everyone, Dan here. Before we get into it, if you enjoy these videos, please hit the like and subscribe button and keep in mind that these are my own thoughts, opinions, and ideas. These are not meant to be, nor should you take them as investment or trading advice in any way, shape, or form. Do your own due diligence, put in the work for yourself, and make your decisions based on that. Enjoy. Alright folks, here we after market close on Wednesday, September 6th. We're going to take a look at SoFi today. So we're going to take a look at the daily chart, the intraday, then flip over to the actual daily chart here on Webull, and then we'll take a look at the Think or Swim study and call it a video. So see how things that we had already on the chart held up today. You know, all these levels we had in 880, 867, 849, and as you see, it played nicely off of all of them today. Now, it dropped quite a bit today, so not nicely in that way, but at least it was making some recognizable motions based on the levels that we had on the chart. So in the pre-market here, it pushed off of this 867 area, made a run at 880, just jumped it by a penny, so really good leveling there, fell through this 867 and couldn't even come back to retest it before just falling down and quickly losing support at the 849 and just sort of wrestling with that all day. Made a little bit of an effort here, but just drew right back down to that range. Now, where it's sort of jumping to into close, we'll see. There was some nice volume increase at close, so we'll see if that amounts to anything. There is an interesting sort of setup taking place on Think or Swim that we'll take a look at in a moment. Now flipping over here to the daily, let me zoom in so this doesn't look so messy, though it is still quite cluttered, I will admit. We had this uptrend support, which I think when I had put it in, I said this is really new, this may not hold, this might not mean much of anything. So today it's dipped below that, and obviously then the question becomes, is it going to scoot itself out from here? Is it going to just sort of fall through that 849? And lose it altogether, or, and I think it probably just has the chance to do this, you know, tomorrow or Friday at the latest, is it going to be able to claw its way back up and over? Now, I think there is an additional possibility, which would be, could this just be setting up slightly differently? Could it be setting up more? I don't know why that went in there. Could this be setting up more like that? Body of this candle, wick of today's candle. I don't know. We'll see. But something to potentially come back to and take a look at, depending on what happens in the next couple of days. So if it does continue to like not really fall through and at least hold this 849 level, we'll shift the trend line over there and see if it might take shape in that range. You know, these are all sort of guesses of something that could sort of take shape until it actually does. Now, I'd be interested to see if there's any additional levels that are seeming to throw out some clear strength here. You know, nothing that in this immediate vicinity that jumps out to me wildly. Everything is a little bit like, it could take shape there, it could take shape there, but it's not quite in that space. I did want to look at the DMA indicator over here. So we have a slight crossover, bullish crossover here. We'll see if that can continue to widen or if it's just going to kind of, you know, weave and lay on top of each other like it can tend to do sometimes. You see it did that right here. All right, so Think or Swim. Now, we had left the channel, as we were saying, as it was leaving the channel, we'll be looking for it to pull back to the mid-range, which is that bright blue line in the middle of the channel, and see what it does there. And what it did there was it tried to hold support, flipped it to resistance, and then just confirmed resistance and lost it all the way to the lower bound of the channel. And again, either when it reaches the lower bound, we look for it to stretch below the lower bound and then pull back to the mid-range, or find support at the lower bound of the channel and retest the mid-range. And that's what it did here, right up to the mid-range. Had maybe a hopeful candle here a couple of days ago, but now today it's sort of resumed back its wrestling motion, if you will, that it was kind of putting in here. So still kind of on the cusp of could go either way as it pertains to the channel and the mid-range. Now TTM squeeze indicator looking kind of interesting. You see clear indications of increased bearish momentum this whole stretch, and then we have one hiccup candle here, but then a nice and consistent drawdown in bearish momentum. And now today, that drawdown continuing, even though it had a down day, but we'll see if that proves to be true. But this red dot indicating today is putting in an initial trigger candle. Now you see trigger candles back here. You see a couple. You even had a couple here, and then a brief fire, and then a re-trigger, and then a fire, and then a bunch of, let's see, yeah, mostly sideways action. There was a little jump here, right? But then it came back down right back into the range where this candle was when it last triggered. But then it finally fired, and then it had this big jump up. So it still could be many, many days, many, many candles in the making. But it is interesting that there's an initial trigger candle getting put in today as the price is wrestling with the mid-range of the channel, as the RSI is coming down, volume on a slight increase, bearish momentum dying down, and it's sort of wrestling with this uptrend support, which, like we said, may just be down here at the wick and include this entire candle body. And sort of an interesting psychological level there, although it's not exactly on a dollar, but that 850 level, smack dab in between the $8 and the $9 level, that could sort of be a strong psychological key component as well. You see it was instrumental support here, and then when it lost it, confirmed resistance there, and then when it came back, that was where it found resistance for several days, even here, found support there, and that's when it was able to push, and now coming back and finding some wick support in that range today. So could there be that sort of confluence of events? Support uptrend is actually over here, encompassing today's wick, 850 level being a strong psychological level, and then mid-range of the channel also being at that range currently, and our first trigger candle getting put in today. It's just an interesting, like I say, compiling or confluence of events. We'll see if it sort of takes shape to mean anything or not, but it's something that I'm going to be keeping an eye on in the meantime. All right, folks, I hope you had a happy hump day and that you finish out the week strong in the days ahead. And as always, I appreciate you watching, and I will see you in the next video.